right, guys, I am super pumped today. I'm excited to try out, for the first time, a professional Glock sight tool. Going back a decade or so, I've been using just like crude tools just to take sights on and off of a Glock. This has some very nice features to it. The front sight tool is magnetic. The hardest thing about putting these sights on is trying to keep that tiny little screw in the sight tool, and we're going to go over all of that when I get into and unbox this Glock sight tool right here. Super excited to open this. Now, this wasn't also in another box, but it was wet because it sat outside all day, so I had to take it, open it to this point, and make sure it was dry. And it was. So, here it is, guys. And I will be posting a link for you down below the video if you want to check this out, the PST-35. It feels pretty solid. All the reviews on it on Amazon are really good. I mean, there's even like a couple of videos you can look at. I'll probably end up putting a review on there, but the reviews are very good, and this thing is heavy. So I feel it's going to be pretty heavy duty as well. One thing right off the bat that I really liked about this when I first seen it was that it does have the little micro measurements here, so you can perfectly align your rear sight. I believe that's what that's used for, that it will help you to get that rear sight perfectly aligned. So from what I've seen, you would adjust these in, and you would adjust this bottom piece, up or down, depending on, where how your slide needs to be. So let me go ahead and get that apart. First of all, well, before I do that, let's go ahead and look at this. So this is going to be your front sight tool. Like I said, it is magnetic. It's going to hold that little tiny screw. That little tiny screw is such a pain for any of these sights to put in the Glock. This will also take off your factory Glock sight very easily. There's also an Allen wrench in here. I'm not for sure exactly what that's for. Oh, that's for these screws down here. You could mount this to a table. I'm not going to do that right now. I am going to use this as is and see how much easier this thing is to get these sights changed on this Glock. So from what I've seen, this is going to be your handle. There's a hole right here, and the Glock sight tool is going to be your handle to move the sight pusher one way or the other. So let me go ahead and get this slide off of this Glock, and I'll show you how we start getting the sights removed. All right, let's go ahead and start with the easy part here, which would be removing this front sight. And there we go. This is so close to the front edge of the slide in here that it did take me a second to get it lined up, because this is the smallest Glock, this 42, but I'm having no issue with it at all. There it is. So it holds this little screw. I'll have another one for this with the excess sights to go in there, but you can definitely feel the magnetic pull from that, which is huge. This is huge, having that. And then that just comes right off. We're going to clean this with like a rubbing alcohol type material. Now let me go ahead and get this mounted into the sight pusher, and we will push this guy off. Okay, now what I've done is I've adjusted the screw on the bottom, and from looking at the directions, you can get more leverage and more room to move this by adjusting these screws on here with a supplied Allen wrench. So depending on your slide size. So what I'm going to do now is move this block over here, and this is adjustable as well. I think that should be enough, and then I'm going to put that right there. And let's go ahead and put the handle in and see what happens. And of course, I started going the wrong way. And it's pushing it off, just like we wanted. Now keep in mind, I don't have all the adjustments set as correctly as they should be for this slide, and still I had no problem getting that off. Those are just going to be thrown away. They're cheap. If you ever need to replace them for any reason, you can easily do so, you know, by just purchasing another set. So here's the slide with the sights removed. You want to clean around the rear sight channel and the front sight channel, and also underneath the front sight channel. And then I'm going to install the excess front sight first. Okay, so this is going to be everything that comes with the excess big dot sights. You are going to want to go ahead and do away with this because you're not going to need it, because we have a magnetic one here that works much better with that little screw. And if you were wondering, the screw is already in the bottom of the front sight that we are going to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is add this provided red Loctite that comes with the excess sights onto the screw here. Put something underneath, so if you put too much on, it will have somewhere to drip to. I always go a little heavier than what people recommend. That's just the way I do it. Once I put these on, I want them to stay. And then we are going to take the front sight, set it into the handgun, and there will be a little bit of room for movement, so I'm going to tell you guys what you need to do to keep this sight right and centered. This is what's nice about having the magnetic tool. This was the hardest part of doing these sights for me. Every time I did them, and I did them on people's guns just to help them out, and, you know, to help people that needed it. So what you want to do, guys, nobody really tells you this. You want to look at the front edge of this. You really want to get this sight as straight as possible. I'm going to go off camera a little bit here. And how you can do that is by going by the front edge of the sight. So now this is very important. What you want to do is hold this tight while you turn this screw in. You do not want to cant the sight when you turn the screw. Now I'm going to check it off camera and see if it's right. Now I have the slide firmly in there. Keep in mind, this is a universal one. This would probably even be easier with the bigger Glock slides, even though this one is not hard at all to do. So what I'm going to do is just tighten this by hand and get it close to that rear sight. And once it's touching, I will then use the front sight tool handle as a pusher. And it is moving. It is definitely moving it on there. No issues with that at all. This is way easier than how I used to do these. I can tell you that for sure. The way I used to do these sights by hand. Now what I'll do is I'll kind of go back here, and I'm actually going to take it out of here and we're going to check it. There's little set screws in there that this is going to tighten down this little Allen key before you put Loctite around the sight. But I gotta say, this thing works really nice, really easy. I can see it's zeroed down in there. Can you see that? It's zeroed out in the center. And I like this, guys. I'll put a link below the video to where you can find this on Amazon if you want to take a look at it. Very heavy duty. That's what I can say. Very heavy. This is machined aluminum with a magnetic. This is key with the magnetic front sight tool. I do so many of these, it's worth it for me to have one of these. Let me go ahead and get this out of here though, and then we'll talk some more about it after a bit. Well guys, it is done. I will show you here the sights in a second. And I gotta say that this was the easiest sight job that I have probably ever done before. And I already have a couple of friends and a couple of relatives that I had said that I would do the Glocks for them, and they're looking forward to getting some sights and letting me put them on the gun for them. It's well worth the money. It's not really expensive. Like I said, I'll link it below if you want to go look at it. It's heavy duty. I didn't even adjust none of these screws. This is the smallest slide that Glock makes. You could do anything up to, you know, a 10 millimeter. Anything that you wanted to do in here, you could do, and you have other adjustments down here and up here that would help you even more adjust this. What I do have to say, though, what was pretty amazing is see the little numbers in there and the zero. This sight, the rear sight, was perfectly aligned. I checked it under the brightest lighting possible, put on reading glasses, and the shoulder on the gun from the left to right was perfectly even. All I had to do was tighten the screws down on top and then put the Loctite around the sight. I mean, that is as close as I could get it. Now, I'll give you guys a tip. When you do these rear sights and you want to make sure they're aligned, always look at it from two angles, okay? Because normally you got light coming from one angle and it'll cast a shadow. So you put the gun like this, and it's going to look like there's more on one side. And if you put the gun like this, it'll look like there's more on the other side. So you have to use the same kind of lighting conditions and turn the gun as well. So here's how these sights turned out, guys. I really do like this. This is pretty amazing stuff right here. There is your front with the orange ring and the tritium vial in the center. Here is the rear with the tritium vial in the center. Going up and down like this in there. And then what you would do is you would put that big front dot right on that. You dot the eye, and whatever the front sight covers is what it's going to hit. If you're out past 25 yards, it'll hit whatever is above the dot. You can look that up online. It's very easy to do. But for all your self-defense stuff, whatever that dot's covering is what the firearm is going to hit. I love these sights, guys. I really do. They're awesome. I'm going to try to see if I can get you some shots of what they look like in the darkness and see if we can see that. There's the front and the rear. The front has the luminescent. The ring is glowing, but there's tritium in the center. And this is your rear, where you would just dot the eye, just like that. Hope that helps to give you some kind of a visual, even though this stuff is hard to do on camera when it comes to sights. I hope that gives you some kind of a little bit of an estimate of what these look like. Really happy with how these turned out. I got something else coming for this gun in a couple of days, and I'll do a video on that as well for you. Sometimes reading the instructions will make you much smarter. I never even realized this till just now. I was getting ready to put the sight tool away, and your handle here threads right in to the top portion so it doesn't drop out like it did on me a few times when you use it to turn the sight pusher. There you go, guys. If you're looking for a sight pusher, I highly recommend this one.